On September 28, 1969, four young men decided they were going to visit a local bar after work for a night of drinking. What started out as an average evening would turn into something straight out of a horror film. The details are so disturbing that parts of this case remain sealed under a Texas court order. But what we do know is just as chilling. These four friends were never seen again. They were all killed in one of the most gruesome murder sprees in American history. And the killer was someone society deemed too dangerous to ever be set free. This is the real Texas Chainsaw Massacre. On September 1969, four young men headed out for a night on the town. These men worked together at the Texas Employment Commission office in Austin. It was just another Friday night out for some cold ones. There were Jerry Martin, 32, his younger brother Bobby, 24, their co-worker Carl Lanz, 25, and Bobby's friend John Hill, 21. All four were African American. There were many great places to go for a drink in Austin, but the group decided to hit up the Littlefield Bar. This was an all-white establishment which didn't serve blacks. However, on this particular night, the owner was very drunk and apparently didn't care who he served. The men had a few drinks before heading out around 7:30 p.m. to go to another bar, but they never made it there. At first, no one thought much of it. People in Austin knew the Littlefield Bar was a rough place. Fights broke out nightly, and people got injured all the time. There were even reports of guns being pulled. So when the four men left, everyone assumed they went somewhere else to continue drinking. But when they didn't show up to work the next day, people began to get worried. Then the families started calling the police. Now, it was September 30th. No one had seen these men for 2 days. When the cops looked into it, they found out that the men were last seen at the Littlefield Bar. But when officers arrived, the bartender said he hadn't seen anything. Apparently, he couldn't remember anything from the night before, because he had been drinking heavily. The police talked to several other people at the bar, but no one could tell them what happened to the missing men. Everyone seemed very tight-lipped, which was odd. Usually, people were eager to talk about fights or shootings. For the next few days, the police searched for any sign of the men, but they turned up nothing. On October 5th, almost a week after they disappeared, Jerry Martin's girlfriend reported she hadn't seen him since the previous Thursday. She told the police that Jerry had called her from the Littlefield Bar around 9:30 p.m. He said he wanted to come over, but she told him she wasn't interested. She then hung up the phone and never heard from him again. This was very unusual for Jerry. If he called and was rejected, he would try to break down the door and enter the house. But somehow this time, he didn't. His girlfriend was certain he wouldn't just leave her hanging like this. Something must have happened. Sadly, the police were unable to piece together any more information than this. By the end of October, the media had picked up on the story, and the whole country was wondering what happened to the missing men. It was obvious the police were stumped, so the FBI stepped in to help. It took them less than 24 hours to find out what happened to the men. On November 1st, 1969, 2 FBI agents were tailing a suspect in an unrelated case when they noticed him throw something out the window of his house. The agents stopped to investigate and discovered it was a human heart. This was horrifying enough, but when the agents searched the property, they found a lot more. In the backyard, they discovered a shallow grave filled with bones and teeth. It was clear that whoever lived here had done something horrible. Soon after, the house was surrounded by FBI vehicles, and dozens of agents entered the home. The man who lived there was 27-year-old Ed Gein. When the FBI searched his home, they found so many horrific things, they almost couldn't believe their eyes. They found women's clothing laid out neatly on a table. And although the tags had been removed, it was obvious they had been stolen. The agents also found a homemade mask made out of human skin. Then they found photos of some of the Littlefield Bar patrons. One of the pictures had a caption that read, "Harvey Milk Austin." Harvey Milk was the name of one of the missing men. Then they found the rest of the men. The agents discovered the bodies of Bobby, Carl, and John stuffed inside oil drums. After seeing this, the FBI knew exactly what had happened. These 4 men had been abducted, tortured, and slaughtered by Ed Gein. What sickened the agents even more was how calm Ed was throughout everything. He acted as if they were just looking for some missing socks. At first he told the FBI he acted alone, but he soon changed his story. Ed claimed he had accomplices named Butch and Dean. He said they had gone to the bar to abduct people for an upcoming Halloween party. Apparently, Ed had planned to dress up like a woman and use the people he kidnapped as props, but things had gone wrong. He said Butch had killed 3 of the men while Dean helped him hide the bodies. And finally, Ed killed the 4th man himself. But the FBI didn't buy this story. Something didn't add up. Why did they only kidnap African American men? And why did Ed make a mask out of human skin? And that's when the terrible truth came out. Ed had not acted alone. He had enlisted the help of his own family. Ed's mother, 64-year-old Jewel, had been a call girl and sex worker for many years. She had raised her son to hate society and believed the white community deserved to be punished for what they had done to blacks. So together, mother and son had kidnapped these men specifically because they were African American. But their motive went beyond simple racial hatred. Jewel and Ed had a taste for cannibalism. When the police examined Ed's house, they found jars full of human organs in various stages of decomposition. Some of these organs were still beating. Ed had kept the hearts and livers of his victims warm so he could eat them. But that wasn't the worst of it. When they searched the house, they found the walls were covered with pictures of mutilated women and other disturbing images. It was obvious Ed was insane. After finding this evidence, the police immediately arrested both Ed and his mother, Jewel. The pair were taken to court where prosecutors showed the evidence against them. As the trial was going on, Ed would often stand up and scream at everyone in the courtroom, acting like a wild animal. Finally, on March 1970, the jury reached a verdict. Jewel and Ed were both guilty of murder. Ed was sentenced to life in prison, and Jewel was given 5 life sentences plus 40 years. Although Jewel was outlived by Ed, it is unknown if she ever regretted what she did. While Ed remained locked up, he was interviewed by several psychologists and psychiatrists. None of them could find anything good to say about him. One psychologist wrote, "I have never seen a person with such complete absence of conscience. So totally without feelings of remorse or pangs of guilt for the enormity of his crimes. He seems to be without feelings of shame or humiliation or embarrassment about his crimes." In 1984, after almost 15 years in prison, Ed passed away from a heart attack. To this day, his remains are held at the Texas State Cemetery. According to reports, prison officials have received countless letters from people asking for Ed's body to be exhumed. However, this has never happened. Some people are still fascinated by Ed, which is understandable. He lived in a small house in Texas and did one of the most horrific things imaginable. He slaughtered innocent people, mutilated their bodies, and cannibalized them. Who knows what kind of evil thoughts run through someone's head when they do things like that? And that's why Ed Gein will forever be known as the Monster of Texas. Now check out Don't Go in the Woods, the terrifying story behind the Wendigo, or watch this video instead.